It's amazing. I mean, what's fascinating to me is just how much content they're putting out and like all the different themes they're tackling. I mean, it's really, it's like this window right into how little kids think.
Totally. And you gave me like this huge stack of transcripts from Nastya's videos.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm curious what you thought.
I got to tell you, things get a little wild.
Oh, yeah.
So today we're going to unpack that a little bit.
Right.
What are kids learning from watching Nastya?
Right.
The good, the bad, the maybe a little bit questionable.
Yeah, and like the fun factor, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, because some of it is like
bonkers.
Totally bonkers.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
One thing that really struck me when I was reading these transcripts was how often Nastya and her dad end up in these like totally over-the-top situations.
Right.
But they always seem to be having so much fun.
Right. They bring like this crazy energy.
It's infectious.
It's totally infectious. And I think, you know, that really appeals to those younger viewers.
Right. It's like they're inviting kids to come play along with them.
Exactly.
Which is a great way to keep them engaged.
For sure.
Yeah.
So smart.
But, you know, beyond that, I think beyond just the entertainment value, I noticed that there were actually some really interesting lessons kind of woven into the narratives.
Interesting.
Often in like a playful and engaging way.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like, give me an example.
Okay. So like there's that scene where Nastya and her dad are playing doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And they make this big show of washing their hands.
Right.
It's a simple message about hygiene, right?
Really.
But it's delivered in a way that like little kids are gonna...
They're gonna get it.
They're gonna get it.
They're gonna remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the humor, I think, is a big part of that.
Oh, kids are way more likely to remember a funny scene than like a dry lecture on hand washing.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of memorable, there's that other scene where Nastya refuses to wash her food.
Oh, yeah.
And she ends up with this like hilarious stomachache.
Right.
I mean...
Classic.
So classic.
Using humor to teach about consequences.
Right.
It's a lighthearted way to show kids that
like your choices matter.
Your choices matter, even when it comes to like something as simple as washing an apple.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a little mini lesson.
It is.
Disguised as entertainment.
Exactly.
Which I think is so effective for these little guys.
Oh, for sure. Especially for that age group.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just hygiene.
Right.
There are also some recurring themes around helping others.
Yes.
And problem solving.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, like that scene where Nastya rescues her dad from that giant spider.
Oh my gosh, yes, with her imagination.
With her imagination, it's so silly.
It's so funny.
But it shows them like thinking on your feet.
Yes.
And using your resources to help people.
I love that.
Who need it.
Totally. And we see that again.
Yes.
In that episode where Nastya helps Masha escape from the cage.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And again,
reinforcing that idea that
kids can be helpful.
Kids can be helpful.
But they can be resourceful.
Resourceful, exactly.
It's real that.
And they don't have to be, you know, helpless bystanders.
Yeah. And I think what I really love about both of those scenes is that it shows the power of imagination and creative problem solving.
Absolutely.
Which are such valuable skills for kids to have.
For sure. And, you know, we can't forget about the emphasis on sharing and friendship.
Oh, right.
Especially during those birthday party episodes.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
And like those crazy over-the-top competition scenes.
So many.
Yeah.
Those episodes are like a whirlwind.
They are a whirlwind.
With activity.
But even amidst all the craziness, there's these underlying messages about treating people with kindness and respect, especially when things get competitive.
Totally. And I think that's so important because competition is something that kids are going to face.
All the time.
All the time in their lives. So yeah, it's good to model that good behavior.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating how these themes are like woven into the stories.
Yeah.
It's not always like they're explicitly saying it.
Right. It's not in your face.
Right.
It's very subtle.
But it's there, and it's shaping how kids perceive these concepts.
Exactly. They're not hitting you over the head with, like, a moral at the end of the episode.
Exactly.
There's all about showing and not telling.
Yeah.
Which I think is so much more effective.
Oh, for sure.
For young kids.
Especially with little ones.
Yeah.
They're not going to get the lecture, but they'll get the...
They'll get the visual.
The image. Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Absolutely. But speaking of showing, there were a couple scenes that made me wonder if they were sending the right message.
Oh, like what?
Like that time when Nastya just tosses a giant ice cream cone in the trash.
Oh, yeah.
It's played for laughs, but it also kind of sends a message about wastefulness.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like finding that sweet spot between keeping it entertaining,
Yeah.
but also like being responsible with the messaging.
Right. And you have to think about like these little kids.
Yeah.
They might not totally get it.
Right. They just see they see her tossing the ice cream and they're like, haha.
Yeah.
But they don't think about the environment.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like even simple stuff like that can have a big impact on these little minds.
For sure. I think it's a good reminder that even if it seems simple, we should be thinking about what our kids are watching.
Absolutely. And I think, we can talk to them about it, like ask them questions, help them think critically, encourage them to think for themselves.
Yeah. And like what's real and what's just pretend.
Absolutely.
I think that's so important.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so while we're talking about things that made me raise an eyebrow, I have to admit that whole evil witch thing that they do so often makes me a little uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah. Like, is it just harmless fun or could it be like feeding into negative stereotypes?
I see what you're saying. I mean, magic and fantasy are so common in kids' shows.
They're everywhere.
But I do think it's worth thinking about how that might shape how a kid sees the world.
Right. Especially with something like witches.
Right.
It comes with a lot of baggage.
It does, yeah. I think it comes down to context.
Oh.
If the witch is always the bad guy, then that could reinforce a stereotype.
Totally.
But if they show different sides.
Oh, interesting.
And maybe challenge those ideas. Then it could be a good thing.
Okay, so it could actually be.
It could be.
A learning opportunity.
A learning opportunity for sure.
Interesting. So it's like even these fantastical elements can make us think about.
They can, our assumptions.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of characters.
Okay.
I noticed that Nastya can be kind of demanding with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Even a little bratty sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious what you think about that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's relatable, right?
Oh, totally.
Little kids have big feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't always know how to express them.
Totally.
But on the other hand, we want to show kids
right.
how to communicate respectfully
yes.
and solve problems.
Totally. So it's about finding that.
It's like walking a tightrope.
It's a tightrope.
Between keeping it real and, being responsible.
Yeah, showing those good skills.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And, that brings us to what I think is the most out there moment in all these transcripts.
Oh, really?
The zombie lemonade.
Oh,
like lemonade that brings people back from the dead.
Right. It's wild.
I mean, what are kids even making of that?
That one left me scratching my head, too.
Yeah.
It's so over the top.
It is old.
Even for a kid's show.
Right.
And I do think it raises some questions about how kids separate what's real and what's fantasy.
Right, because those lines can get blurry.
They can get blurry for sure. And, we have to think, is this appropriate for little kids?
For every age.
Because, some kids might not get it.
Right, and it could be scary.
It could be scary, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've established, like, Nastya is kind of a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag, for
sure. There's good stuff, the energy, the humor. The positive messages.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some things they could improve.
I agree. There's always room for improvement.
Always. Okay, so let's pretend we're the producers.
Okay, I like this.
Okay, we're in the writer's room.
Let's brainstorm.
How can we level up like Nastya?
Okay, so instead of throwing that ice cream away, what if Nastya learns about composting? Or like how to reduce food waste?
I love that.
Right.
And it's fun.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
And it teaches them about the environment.
Such a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Okay, what if they bring in some new characters from different backgrounds?
Yes, make it more inclusive.
More inclusive, exactly.
So that more kids can see themselves.
Exactly, and relate to the characters.
I love that representation matters.
It does, especially for kids.
Yeah, okay. What else can we do?
What if they really dug into those themes of emotional intelligence?
Oh, interesting.
And empathy.
Okay.
Like show Nastya learning how to handle her frustrations.
Yeah.
And communicate her needs in a healthy way.
Oh, I love that because that's something that all kids need.
All kids need, for sure.
To learn how to do.
And parents, too.
Oh, totally.
We could all use a little help with that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm writing all this down. What else?
Okay, how about we sneak in some more educational stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe some STEM concepts.
Oh, cool.
Or focus on early literacy.
Oh, I love that.
Maybe even partner with some educational groups.
Oh, that's so smart.
To make the content even better.
That's such a good idea. It's amazing how much potential there is.
Right.
To make, like, Nastya even better.
It is. It's exciting.
It really is. And it shows you how powerful this stuff is.
It does.
It's not just entertainment.
Right.
It can be so much more.
It can be fun and learning at the same time.
Totally. And I'm curious what our listener thinks.
Oh, me too.
What really stood out to you in our little exploration of, like, Nastya?
Yeah, what lessons are kids picking up from this?
Yeah, tell us what you think.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
This conversation needs to keep going.
Absolutely.
So let's keep exploring and keep learning.
And keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what we can learn from a show that's made for like 4-year-olds.
I know, it's crazy.
It shows how powerful kids' entertainment can be.
Yeah.
Like even something as silly as like Nastya can spark all these conversations about the messages our kids are getting.
And what they're learning about the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it reminds us that we have a role to play as parents and educators.
Absolutely.
Like we help shape what kids are watching.
Right. It's not just about limiting screen time.
Yeah, it's about talking to them.
Right.
About what they're seeing.
Asking questions. Helping them think critically.
Exactly. Encourage them to like come to their own conclusions.
Don't just be a passive watcher.
Be an active viewer.
Yes.
Think about what you're seeing.
Yeah. And I think that's where like the real magic happens.
Totally.
When you encourage kids to question and analyze.
Right. To think for themselves.
Yeah.
You open up a whole new world.
Totally. And who knows, maybe we'll inspire the next generation.
Ooh, I like that.
Of content creators to make even better shows.
That's a great thought. Like shows that are fun.
Yeah.
But also make you think.
Yes. Shows that are inclusive and educational.
Yeah. Shows that make a difference.
It's a vision worth working toward.
It is. And it starts with these conversations.
Yes, these deep dives into what our kids are watching.
For sure. So as we wrap up our deep dive into like Nastya, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, hit me.
What if you were the content creator? What kind of show would you make for kids?
What would I do?
Yeah, what adventures would you send Nastya on?
Oh, that's a good one.
What would you want kids to learn?
I mean, that's a challenge.
It is. It takes creativity.
For sure.
And responsibility, and you got to really understand what it's like to be a kid.
But I think it's a challenge worth taking on.
I agree.
Because ultimately, the future of kids' entertainment is in our hands.
That's true.
And if we're thoughtful and use our imaginations, we can create shows that are both entertaining and enriching for generations to come.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into like Nastya.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
We hope you learned something.
And that it gave you something to think about.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep those conversations going.
Absolutely.